The Sharks are in trouble. The Eels, bigger trouble. And the Knights, hello and welcome to the finals race. So let's get into round 22. What is going on, guys? We are back again for another tipping and predictions video here on The Casual Athlete. I am your host, Bergs, and today we are going to be going through the tips and predictions for round 22. Some very interesting matchups based off the results from last week. And speaking of those results, guys, let's take a look back at how I did. And I'm not looking forward to this one. As you can see, guys, 4 out of 8 tips correct. Not my best week, I will admit. I got lulled into a sense of vulnerability in tipping the Tigers. You know, I just wanted them to win so badly to avoid that wooden spoon, but it seems inevitable at this point. Warriors got away with one over in Auckland. I think the Raiders are a little bit stronger than I gave them credit for. I tipped them 13 plus, the Warriors, and geez, they gave me a heart attack there on Friday night. Broncos. Yeah, that's right. Broncos. Not everyone tipped this, and I am so glad it got over the line. Titans, yeah, I just don't really want to talk about this one too much. Congratulations to the Roosters for finally finding a bit of attacking spark. And now we get to the biggest upset of the week. As you can see, guys, the background there. We have the Knights beating the Storm, and they had not beaten the Storm in the previous 12 meetings between these two teams. And yeah, they'd had some pretty good momentum going into this game, and maybe I ignored that a little bit too much and went with the stronger, more consistent team. And the Knights just, after conceding the first 12 points, it almost galvanized them. They basically got into a huddle and said, we're not letting in any more points. And the Storm didn't score for another 60 minutes of the game. It was great scenes out of McDonald Jones Stadium, and I think Knights fans have a little bit more to be excited about, because they could potentially make the 8 at this point. My Cowboys getting that one done, 1-12 as expected there. Wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be. Cowboys kind of ran roughshod over the first 40 minutes or so, and the Eels were looking very good towards the back end of that game. Cowboys did a lot of defense, but in that defense, they were rock solid a lot of the time, and I think the only tries that the Eels ended up scoring ended up being a few tired defenders, just because they had to do so much defending in a short space of time. And the Eels, they're a good attacking team, so they're always going to score a few points. Again as well, Penrith, 13 plus, don't need to talk too much about that. Feel sorry for the Dogs at the moment. They had a lot of players out. And the Sharkies, they nearly came back in this game and won it, but it's just not good enough to concede 24 points heading into the break. I reckon Craig Fitzgibbon would have been furious with that kind of effort. It's just mind-boggling to think that this team is conceding above 21 points a game at the moment, and they're sitting in the top 6 in the competition. I think they're in real strife right now, and they could be looking at a very quick dissension down as we look at the matchups coming up this week. And starting with the first game of the round, guys, we actually have a very interesting game. Now, first game of the round, we have Thursday night out at the Gabba, where the Broncos will be taking on the Roosters. And you've got to say, off the back of 2 wins for both these teams last week, this one could go either way. I think the Broncos at the moment are the $1.36 favourites. And in the last 5 matchups between these two teams, I was very surprised to find out that the Roosters actually have won 4 out of those last 5 games. It's actually a bit closer, I think, this one, than what it looks based on the way the teams have progressed over the course of the year. I think the Broncos showed last week why they can win the competition this year by taking out what everyone perceives to be one of the competition heavyweights in the Rabbitohs, who had a lot of players back. Bar Latrell Mitchell, they were pretty much full strength. Roosters, on the other hand, they took out the Titans, but what impressed me most was the amount of points that they scored in that game. The Titans have proven to not be one of the easiest beats in the competition this year. Yes, they are a bottom 8 team. Teddy having a week off was outstanding. I think Brandon Smith answered a few critics this week as well. I think maybe the chuckles after the game with his former Melbourne teammates that was spoken about in the media definitely fired him up for this one, and he came out raring to go. Yeah, it's tough though. At the Gabba, I think I've got to go with the Broncos in this one. 1-12. I just think that they're a bit too classy for the Roosters, even though the Roosters are going to be desperate. I think this Broncos side are some really true young guns right now. Broncos 1-12. Second game of the round takes us to Scully Park in Tamworth, where we have the Tigers taking on the Rabbitohs. And in the last 10 matchups between these two teams, the Tigers have only won 2 out of the 10 games, with the Rabbitohs winning 8. I think the Rabbitohs caught a little bit off guard, as I said previously with the Broncos last week. I don't think I need to go into this one too much. The West Tigers are way outsiders right now, $9.30. They did have a couple of bright spots last week against the Dragons, but I don't think a Junior Tupou stellar performance is going to win you the game. I will say this though, Dane Laurie was quite good in that game. He put his winger away quite a fair bit with some nice cutout passes. It's just a case of the Rabbitohs being a better team than the Tigers. Brooks probably not going to be back this week as well. I think Coruscant played pretty well last week, and I think the Tigers nearly got that game done, but against a much more formidable side. The Rabbitohs don't tend to play too many bad games in a row, so I'm going to go with the Rabbitohs on this one, 13+. Hey guys, just thought I'd interrupt the video for a moment to let you know that only 34% of you are subscribed right now. So if you like the content that we put out each and every week, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our new updates. Now back to the video. The primetime Friday night game takes us down to Marvel Stadium this week in Melbourne, where we have the Storm taking on the Eels. And I've got to tell you, it seems like a must-win scenario for the Eels right now. They have to keep winning to keep these finals hopes alive. Saying that, though, they are going to be significantly down on troops. Again, we saw on the weekend Sean Lane dislocating his elbow in that Cowboys game, and that is so unfortunate for Sean Lane, who had such a great 2022 and just has not been able to get it together this year. Para just haven't been able to get a solid forward pack together this year, and I think Wiramu Greg is also a bright spot for them this year. He may come back this week. We also have Dylan Brown 1 week away from returning from his suspension as well, so there's a couple of rumors on each side. We got Eli Katoa may or may not come back this week. We're hearing rumblings that Ryan Pappenhausen is not too far away as well, and that is an excitement machine waiting to burst for this Storm team and for their fans. They need a bit of Ryan Pappenhausen spark right now, especially in that Knights game. I think he could have been the difference there. In the last 5 matchups between these two teams, the Eels actually have the run of it, winning 4 out of the last 5, but the Storm won in round 1 in Golden Point when Harry Grant scored that try. And I just think with this matchup this week, the Storm don't have the greatest record at Marvel Stadium. Para going to be desperate to get a win there. Storm, they don't lose too many in a row. So I've got to tell you, this one is pulling me both sides of the fence. And I feel like I'm going to fall the Eels side of the fence this week. I know they are down on troops, but I think after the loss in round 1, the Eels need to win this game, and we've seen how they can react off the back of getting a loss like they had in round 1. I'm going to go the Eels, 1-12. NRL Super Saturday takes us to GIO Stadium, where we have potentially the game of the round, where we have the Raiders taking on the Knights. We've got a top 5 team in the NRL against a team that's hot on the heels of every team at the bottom of that 8 right now. The Knights have won 3 in a row, and they are charging for the finals right now. And this matchup, quite a favourable one for them. They've won 3 out of the last 5 games against the Raiders. I think the Raiders were a little bit unlucky last week. They showed a sense of resilience against a pretty, formidable side in the Warriors, and we've seen that this year, that the Warriors have been a pretty good team. Whereas the Raiders, they've had quite a easy draw, and I feel like not everyone knows where they sit right now. With this Knights side, though, they are ready and firing, and I tell you what, they grabbed my attention last week. I think the wins against a pretty helpless dog side, and then against the Tigers didn't really set them up for a win against the Storm, but they did it. They came out and in that second half and just took the game over. Really didn't give the Storm a sniff either. And, it looked pretty set in stone, the result, from about 20 minutes from full time. So, with all of that being said, I feel like I've got an edge on the side of the Knights right now. They're just playing some really expansive footy. I mean, I don't like to tip the Knights a lot against teams that they probably shouldn't beat, but with the form guide and the Raiders being a bit of a, having a bit of a bogey team against the Knights, I've got to go with the Knights in this one, 1-12. Super Saturday continues down in Wollongong at Wynn Stadium, where we've got the Dragons taking on the Manly Seagulls. And both teams came off a win last week. And I'll tell you what, I was looking at this game heading into it and thinking, you know what, Manly, based on the fact that they, put up a very strong first half performance against the Sharks, could put on a 50-point display against this Dragon side. However, when I looked into the form guide, the Dragons have won 7 out of the last 10 games against Manly. So my theories are blown quite out of the water right now. Dragons coming in as $2.66, and yeah, they squeaked home against the Tigers last week. And, I think if a few things hadn't have gone their way, they could have easily lost that game. And Manly, same thing. If there was another 5 minutes on the clock, I think the Sharks would have beaten them. So, I don't really know what to make of either team. I think Manly are actually going to be down a couple of players this week. Josh Aloiai hurt himself, and Paseka had a nasty-looking knee injury in that game as well. So that's going to be hurting their middle forward rotation a little bit. I've just got to look at the players in these games. Who's the top 5 players, and I look at it and I go, DCE probably the best player. After that, Ben Hunt, and then after that, I'd probably say it's either Ruben Garrick or Ola Kawatu, someone from Manly who can spark something. But Lomax has been playing some pretty decent football lately. It's very interesting that I talk about Hunt and Lomax because they seem to be the guys that are either wanted or not wanted by the club. I'm not exactly too sure what's going on at the Tigers. Flanagan seems to want them next year. Hunt wants out. Lomax was told he could leave, but yeah, they're probably their 2 best players right now, if you look at it. As far as the tip goes, I've got to go Manly. I can't see the Dragons winning 2 in a row right now. I just think Manly are going to be a bit hungrier. They have a chance to make the 8, and they want to make it count. I'm going to go Manly, 1-12. Final game on Saturday, guys, takes us out to Bluebet Stadium, where we have the Panthers taking on the Sharkies. And the Panthers, they had a bit of a training run against the Dogs on the weekend. Didn't quite get to that 50-point mark, but I think they may have taken the foot off the gas a little bit early. And the Sharks, well, they had a very strong second half, but they let in 24 points in the first half, and you just can't do that, even against teams like Manly. They are going to make you pay for it, and Manly's defense held a little bit towards the end of the game. In the last 5 matchups between these two teams, the Panthers have won 4 out of 5. The only win in those 5 from the Sharks was a 1-point victory as well. So not too much in recent times for Sharks fans against Penrith to have a cackle about. And I just think this is pretty must-win territory now for the Sharks. They've got some tough matchups. They've got Panthers this week, Rabbitohs next week, and if they don't win either of these 2 games, they could be looking at a prospect where they don't make the finals this year. And we've been talking about it, or there's been a lot of talk about it in the last couple of weeks. Fitzgibbon was saying that their defense is what they've worked on all week, but it just didn't show on the weekend. And I got to say that I think the Panthers will get this one done pretty comfortably. And I think Targo is expected back as well, which is a welcome in. He'll make Jesse Ramian's night a bit of hell out there on the left. I'm going to go with the Panthers, 13+. 2 more games to go, guys, and we've got the Dogs taking on the Dolphins out at Salter Oval in Bundaberg. I think with the Women's FIFA World Cup, there's been a few oval or stadium changes for this round and for a few rounds. As we can see, games being played at the Gabba, SCG, Salter Oval, things like this. But it's good to get park footy out to these kinds of places. Tamworth, one of the hubs in country football, as we know. With the Dogs, I think they showed a bit of fight. Avarillo's had an outstanding season, I will say that. He's, burning Penrith players. You never see a team running 16th, 15th on the ladder, and they've got one bloke out there just trying his absolute heart out of position as well. I don't know if fullback's probably the position for him, but he's making it the best of it as he can right now. They had a lot of outs as well. Preston pulling out late. Marnie was a bit unfit. Kick out late as well. I expect those guys to play this week. They get Addo Carr back as well. Dolphins, fresh off a bye, so you might say that they're a bit well rested for this game, but I like the Dogs in this one. I think going down to Tamworth is a good chance to get a bit of park footy going. The locals will love it out there. I'm going to go with the Dogs, 1-12. Last game of the round, guys, has us at Seabus Super Stadium, where we have the Gold Coast Titans taking on my North Queensland Cowboys. And the Cowboys, they got a great win over the Eels last week. I was very nervous heading into that game. Longy, a good friend of mine for a number of years, we watched it together, and I think he's getting a bit sick of watching Cowboys games with me. Every time we seem to watch one together, it seems to end up with a Cowboys resounding victory. So I don't think he'll be wanting to watch too many with me moving forward. Titans have not had the best go of it against the Cowboys in recent times. They've lost 7 out of the last 10 games. A lot of points being scored in those fixtures, though. I think if you're on the overs for this game this week, probably one to look at. The big thing for the Titans is they're going to have no Tino, and it showed last week. They were a bit weak in the middle, didn't really have any direction, no leader out there, and that's what Tino provides. Cowboys, we will have probably no Jeremiah Nanai. That AC joint injury looks pretty uncomfortable, probably a medium grade kind of injury, probably a 2 to 4 week thing, as per the NRL physio that I looked up on Instagram. Thanks for that, mate. I just think the Cowboys the form team of the competition. They've won 6 in a row, and I think it's hard to go away from them right now. And if I was to be putting any money on this game, I'd be looking at probably the overs for points and Cowboys to probably cover the line. I'm going to go the Cowboys 13 plus. I think we get it done pretty comfortably. So that is it, guys. Another tipping and predictions video in the books. If you liked it, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hit me up down in the comments and let me know about your tips as well. I love looking at all the comments each and every week, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.